Pagepedia, the global data system of information. It is with utmost humility and sincerity that we present Samantha Walsh, TV personality, MTV-based Africa, as a living testament and recollection of history in the making in our generation.
I know I can count on me, so stand up for the champions, stand up, stand up, stand.
Hi guys, so my name is Samantha Walsh. My dad is originally English and my mom is South African and Northern Nigerian, specifically from Jos, if you're wondering about that side. But I grew up, or I spent most of my life in Nigeria, in the north. I grew up in Jos. I went to school in Jos. Most of my primary and secondary was done in Jos. And then I went to further my education in the university, the American University of Nigeria in Yola, which I got my first degree. And I haven't done my master's yet, so no, not that. But I grew up in Jos. I spent a lot of time there. I've only been in Lagos for about 4 years now, almost 4 years, 3.5 years-ish. So the difference is really clear compared to Jos is a small town in comparison to Lagos. Lagos is big and busy. Jos is small and quiet and cold and great and wonderful. But yeah, that's it.
Everyone is born for a purpose. Samantha Walsh reveals a life's purpose.
I think every human in general has or is supposed to have the same purpose, if I'm going to sound religious. But I think we're all supposed to have the same purpose. But specifically myself, I would say I've always been a people pleaser for the longest that I can remember. I've always been notorious in quotes or popular in quotes because I stood out from the crowd. That was the only reason why at the time. But so I always had an opinion that was always heard or was always listened to before other opinions. I was always picked on. I always stood out basically. So I think my upbringing has molded me into the person that I am today, which is I've liked seeing people around me happy. I will, even if I was sick and suffering and in pain, nobody really knows around me because I like seeing people happy around me. So I think if I had to generalize it, it's such a vast question. I don't even know how to answer it specifically, but I would think my purpose would definitely be to make people happy. Number one, if I had to put a number to it, it would definitely be to make other people happy. And then after that, I've always been a kid person. I used to be the babysitter. Everybody left their babies with me because I loved babies, I loved children. Even before I had my own, I've always been that person. So, aside making people happy, I think if you made the world, this is my thinking, if you made the world a happier place, there would be no wars. It would be so simple and easy, and everybody would like each other and would help each other. No, there wouldn't be rich or poor. It would be better. So I like to assume that if I can walk out the door today and somebody smiles because of me, they may make somebody else smile. And my purpose is definitely to make the world a happier place, small by small, till I get big. Yeah.
As a presenter on MTV-based Africa, here's how she got to this height.
I have come a long way. When I got pregnant, I dropped out of university, and then I had to go back after I had the baby. So in the brackets of which I was pregnant and having the baby, I don't like to be jobless. I've never liked to be jobless. I don't do very well being idle, so I like to keep busy. So while I was pregnant, I got several tiny little jobs here and there in Jos. I taught little kids. It basically was surrounded by children because it worked for me and it was easy. So I taught grade 1. I did kindergarten, it was fun. So basically I started off as a teacher, if I could say that. And then I finished school. I did advertising in school, by the way. Then I finished school and I served in Nasarawa. And then I went to Abuja. And I did, actually I did before this, while I was serving rather, I wasn't in camp as much as the regular kids. Because I just had a baby and I was exempted. But yeah, I did like a little while, a couple of months in Rhythm in Jos, Rhythm 93.7 in Jos. I was on the radio and it worked for me. I've always been energetic. I've never been a dull person per se. So it was really easy for me to get into the radio world per se because basically all you have to do is talk aside learning how to use the applications and the gadgets and everything in the studio. So I got to do that and it was nice, it was fun. But Jos, like I said, is very quiet and it's almost like they have a wall around them and they never pass that wall and they're just content with that wall. They're fine with it. So I went to Abuja and I did a couple of other radio stations there, such as Hot FM 93.8, which it was at the time. I'm not sure if that's what it is now. I think they changed to 98.1. Yeah, but at the time, Hot FM. And then I did Kiss FM. And then I decided to move to Lagos, which was a very big move for me because I have no family in Lagos. I had no friends in Lagos. It was very a little country girl moving to Lagos. I had seen a bunch of my friends in Jos who had decided to take up careers in Lagos because if you know anything about Nigeria, you know that Lagos is our New York City. So if you want to make it, you either go to Los Angeles or you go to New York. And in Nigeria is Lagos. So yeah, a bunch of my friends from Jos had gone to Lagos and they were working and it was working for them. And so I thought, why don't I go to Lagos as well? I didn't see that it could be hard as well. I just saw what my friends were doing and I assumed, I could do it as well. And these are hardworking people such as like MI and Ice Prince. These are people that came from where I was. But they made it look easy. And so Samantha decided to up and move to Lagos by herself, which was by far, after having a child, the hardest thing I've done. So moved to Lagos. I interned, I was like an intern in an advertising agency in Lagos for, I wouldn't even call that a career. It was maybe a couple months. But that's because I did advertising, so it was easy for me to get that kind of job. But it wasn't what I liked to do because in Jos and Abuja, I had been doing radio, and I was certain that in Lagos I'd be able to get a radio job. So I came, but in the meantime, because I don't like to be jobless, I did the advertising agency for a few months. And then I started working with Hip TV. I'm not even sure exactly what year this is, but I've only been here 3.5 years, so it can't be that far back. But I did Hip TV, and it worked really well. Ayo Animation was great. He's the owner of Hip TV, and he does very well with his new employees. He helps and works you through it. And now because I had never done TV, it was slightly different for me, and I was a lot more nervous because it's in front of a camera. But it worked. He thought that I could do very well at this because at the time when I went to him for a job, they were supposed to be opening a radio station as well, Smooth Promotions, but I'm not sure if they came around to do that. But I initially went to get a radio job, but then he said, no, why don't you just do TV? I do Hip TV as well. You do that. And I said, you know what? A job is a job, let's do that. And I did Hip TV for a while, over a year. And then I left Hip TV and then I went to Cool FM. Now Cool FM, I've always loved radio because I can see this is where I started from. I did go there trying to get a radio job, but like everybody else, they had tried me for TV. And so they had just opened their television station, which is called WeTV. I'm assuming it's still WeTV, yes. And there were like a bunch of shows and they put us into different categories and I worked there for a bit. All the time that I had been working there, WeTV wasn't even on air. We were just shooting and shooting for content to be kept before they launch the channel and it goes up. But yeah, and then I fell out with Cool TV and I left Cool TV. And then I started doing a few projects personally for like the likes of MTN. I was with MTN for a while. I did red carpet presentation for MTN because Hip TV had made me see, oh, I can do TV as well. So I was comfortable now. I did red carpets, I did events, I did shows. So I could do both for me. So I did MTN for a little while. And then fast forward to early on this year, I was told about the Bigger Friday show, which is on MTV. And so I went in to meet with the people that were organizing it and did an audition. Bada bing, bada boom, I'm doing the show with files and we do the whole of the season and it's fine. And so here I am today with MTV Base Africa. I'm a VJ, I do everything now. It's not just the Bigger Friday show, but yeah. So career-wise, that's it. Very long story, but yeah.
As a word of advice to the younger generation, she says,
well, I don't think the older generation are looking up to me. But then maybe again they are because I'm surrounded by their children as well. So I assume that they would expect people like me to act a certain way. But for the younger age, especially for women, the world has become such a better place for women these days. We can be career driven, we can become presidents, we can make a difference basically. So I would say, let me not generalize, I'll say people in general looking up to me. I think non-stop work should definitely be your number one. No matter how many times you fall, no matter how many times you slip, no matter how many times you have doubts in yourself, just keep pushing. It's like, just imagine your life is a staircase and you need to reach the top. So no matter how slow you're going, just keep climbing the stairs. Eventually you'll get to wherever you want to be. And then secondly, which is very important for me personally and women, I think keep your principles and never forget your principles. Don't forget where you're coming from and don't forget who you wanted to be the day you said it to yourself. Keep your principles and work hard. That would be it for me. Everything else is on you.
as a challenge, Samantha nominates the following people whose lives are worthy of emulation.
So stand up for the champion.
First, I would definitely say Denrile Edu. I'm not very good with his name, but Denrile. Everybody knows Denrile. Denrile is an OAP. He's a presenter as well, like myself. He's definitely the first person I'm challenging, and that's the story you want to hear. And then after that, M.I. Yes, Jude Abaga definitely is the second person. He's a rapper, a Nigerian, very good rapper. That's another story you want to hear. I'm trying to go with different backgrounds, different people. Mayowa Ekpo. She's an on-air personality for Wazobia FM. And lastly, Loose Canaan. Loose Canaan is under MI's label as well, Chocolate City. He's a rapper. He grew up in Kaduna. It's a good story. You want to hear it. Yeah, that's my 4.